terms of braising vegetables. This is the basic tenement of what I do. As far as oils go, I tend to use a lighter oil because when you're sauteing things with high heat, you want to use something like a canola oil or even better a grapeseed oil. They have what we call a higher smoke point. What that means is as the heat rises, when you use olive oil, there's a certain point and smoke starts to happen, okay? But with grapeseed oil, it can take the heat a little bit better. Even canola oil, it can take it even better. So when you're doing a saute, fast, high heat, you want to use a lighter oil all the time. Okay, so we're getting this up to heat, and while that's going, I'm going to talk about the main vegetable event, which is baby bok choy. Have you guys had this before? Yes, you're saying, oh, yes, so you know it's yummy.
He uses the big one in Chinese.
The big one, right? There's different varieties involved. And so in this case, this is, in this bowl, this is about 1.5 pounds. So, this is actually usually, if you go to an Asian food store like the ones around here, thank you, they will usually have them bagged up about 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds each. So it keeps it very, very simple and easy. What I like to do, as I was mentioning to you, when I do a stir fry, you can chop the bok choy like you would normally do the large ones, this way. But in this case, we like to eat the whole piece, the whole everything. So to make it a little bit simpler, what I typically do is I will cut the bok choy into halves or quarters depending on the size. The most important thing about any kind of braising or sauteing is trying to get vegetables and things that are about the same size, because everything cooks at a different rate. If you have a carrot that's got a big piece and a carrot that's a little piece, one's going to be over or undercooked. So I like to cut them long ways like this when I do my saute. Now, just to give you variation, I basically made this very, very basic, but at this point you could add garlic if you wanted to, but you don't want to. Shallots would be a fine addition here, or even some crushed red chili peppers while this is getting hot and fun. But in this case, what I'm going to do is just take, these are sliced, as I had mentioned, and you can hear the sizzle, so this actually does work. And what I tend to do is I'll put in one layer. The biggest thing about braising, while I love it, and this is how I treat most of my vegetables, even when I go to my clients' homes, is that you get the wonderful char on the outside that you love when you roast, but at the same time it's not dehydrated on the inside. It's still tender on the inside, but it has a nice char on the outside. At least that's what I'm hoping tonight. So one of the important tenements is to not overcrowd the pan. And basically I've put in enough here so that everything is touching the surface of the pan. You don't want to crowd it too much because then you're just steaming. And you might as well just throw in some water and steam it off. So I'm just trying to get a little bit of color on all the different sides, and this will turn a much brighter green as we move along, a smidgeroo. And I'm not using that much oil. You'll also notice that I'm also using something like this for all of my oils, as opposed to, you get the olive oil, it's in the big container, and then you glug, 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 a little olive oil here and there, and the one glug turns into 2 glugs, 3 glugs. This is so nice because I just use a very sparse amount. If it's a little dry, I add a couple drops here and there. It's a great way to regulate how much oil you're actually using. And believe it or not, this is, you find these with the caps at a beauty supply store. I know it sounds strange, but for people who, like myself, might get their hair colored, you would go to a beauty supply store, and this is what they would use to mix it in. It's food safe, it's brand new, it doesn't have any chemicals in it or anything other than oil. But it's funny, I've gone to a lot of different cookware places, and they never have the caps. It's kind of strange. So the only place I can find it is, believe it or not, the beauty store. Okay, so as you can see, I don't want to lift the pan because then the heat will cut off. Really, it's half, it's really shrunk down quite a bit. Now it's about half of the surface area. And I'll transfer this back right here. Half of the surface area, and I'll transfer this back right here.
And do you keep it on high heat the whole time?
I keep it on medium high or high heat, and the reason why at this point I'm doing that is because I want to get that char on.
Right.
If I keep it really low, then it's not real. It's not going to happen for us. Okay. So I'm going to do one more in here.
Throwing that in now too.
I would actually put the garlic in. I tend to put those in the front end. Now, it's a little trick, which we'll actually see when we do the fried rice, because one of the tricks with Thai cuisine, I'm not Thai, but one of the tricks with Thai cuisine is to use oil and then put in all of your things like garlic and shallots in the front end while the pan is cold. Then you turn the heat on, and then that way, the heat and the oil, the garlic, it all comes to temperature together. So, because one of the things that happens, and it never happens on TV, but it happens at home for people all the time, they have hot oil, and then Emerald says, throw the garlic in, and then your garlic turns black. Right. Because it's so hot. And then all of a sudden you don't know what to do. But mix it up with other things, right? So if you actually take cold pan, cold oil, cold garlic, shallot, something like that, you can bring it up together really gradually, and it makes a really wonderful, flavorful garlic oil, too, on top of that. Dip a little bread when you're not on a diet in that, and ooh, you'll have a good time. Move this out of the way so you can see. So everything is in the pan now. So what's the problem? The problem is that the green leaves are cooked, obviously, but the stems, the center part is still firm. I mean, I can feel it. Still firm, still not cooked up yet. So the trick to this, if I do it correctly because I didn't bring my lid, is to actually add a little bit of broth or white wine or even water, okay? A little in here. You hear that? Okay, partially cover the pan with your lid normally, not this, and let it hang out for 2 minutes. Now what is happening in here is the hard parts are steaming through, okay? And all you're going to do in this process is let it hang out for 2 minutes. You want to, I say partially cover. Now I'm in trouble. I say yep, so I can see the liquid. It's still in there. I just want to, like I said, partially cover it and let that liquid evaporate. And then after 2 minutes, take a fork, test it. Is that the way you like it? Some people like it not so firm. Some people like it firmer. And if it's not quite there yet, add a little bit more broth. Put the lid on. Be patient, wait 2 more minutes. And then at the end, because you're checking it every 2 minutes, you won't do it more than 3 times, unless you've got really, really thick vegetables. But in the end, that broth or white wine or whatever you use is steaming through, and now the vegetable actually is even brighter than it was before, because the steam action has happened. Okay?
Does it matter the broth, Christine? Vegetable. Does
it matter the broth? Well, actually, in this case, because I wanted to keep this particular demonstration vegetarian, it looks like chicken broth, what I'm using, but this is actually a product called No Chicken Broth. It's vegetarian. So why would I ever use that? Well, a lot of the time when you use a vegetarian broth, it tends to be very tomato and celery based, like watered down V8, for lack of a better word. So they came out with this great organic product called No Chicken Broth. So it really has more of those properties, more of the onion flavor, but it's vegetarian. So it solves all the issues of funky flavors. I hate having my one vegetarian have it taste different from everyone else's. It's pretty darn good, and I use it for basis for soups that I prepare as well.